I'm Bren Gould, CEO of the Community Foundation, and I want to just start by thanking you for being here. We recognize that your time is precious, and the fact that you've taken time this morning, if you can all hear me, the fact that you've taken time this morning to be with us, to learn about your Community Foundation really means a lot to us, so thank you so much for being here. I also want to thank Andrea Douglas and the African American Heritage Center for hosting us this morning. If you've not been to this space, I do encourage you to take some time to explore it. It's just such a wonderful resource for our community. And I also want to thank Chuck McElroy and Breadworks for providing the lovely refreshments and coffee this morning. I hope you've gotten a chance to enjoy that. There will be a little more time later to do that, but thank you. And you know, we've been just looking forward to this event for weeks at the Community Foundation. As some of you may know, there have been a few changes at the Community Foundation in the last 6 months. I have just had the distinct honor, really, to be appointed CEO of the foundation, and I'm deeply humbled. Yeah. Thank you. I truly am humbled to be leading this organization at this time. And you know, throughout my tenure at the Community Foundation, one of the things I cherish most, actually, is the inspiration I get from the work of so many of you, and just the difference that you're making in the lives and futures of so many people in our region. So thank you so much for the work that you do, and also for your very, very warm welcome to me as I assume this new role. We've also added some new faces at the Community Foundation in the last 6 months, and it was very important to us that we have this event, that we gather the nonprofit community and really get a chance to share about the foundation, to introduce the people who are here, and to make sure that you're aware of the services and the programs that are available to support you in your work. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to provide a very general overview of the foundation, about how the organization works, the different parts of the house, introduce you to the people and the work that they do, answer your questions, and also share with you some of the priorities for the foundation going forward. Before we get into all of that, I want to take some time to acknowledge a few folks in the room. We have some board members here who I just want to either have stand up or wave your hand when I call your name. Jay Kessler is here today. There's Jay. Jay is chair of our board and has been leading the organization over the last couple of years through quite a bit of transition, so we are just so grateful for his leadership at this time. Heather Carlton is here. She's all the way in the back there waving. Heather is our vice chair and will be assuming leadership next year. She also serves on our grants committee and has been a past chair of that committee as well. We also have Leonard Sandridge, who is here. He's all the way in the back there. Many of you know Leonard. You've driven down the street named after Leonard. But we are so thrilled to have him and just his wisdom and experience on our board as well. Whit Broom is here, also in the back there, raising his hand. Whit has been on our board for about 8 years now, I believe, and has chaired our audit committee and also brought a wealth of wisdom and experience to our board. Rick Richmond is here. There he is. Thanks, Rick. Rick has served on our board also and been involved with our organization for quite a while. He's been on our audit committee and also served on our grants portfolio committee. Libby Edwards-Alva is here. She's there in the middle. Libby just joined our board this year, and she serves on our board development committee. We're very pleased to have her joining our leadership. And I'm not sure if she's here, but Pamela Sutton-Wallace, I didn't quite see her yet, but she also is on our board. We're very pleased to have her executive experience and leadership, and also her knowledge of health, community health and health equity on our board. We have a number of other board members as well, but I just thank you all for your service and leadership. I also want to introduce Gwen Goodkin, who is somewhere here. There she is. She's raising her hand there in the back. Gwen is a longtime just friend and volunteer at the office, and she does a lot of the work you're going to hear about. Gwen has some role to play in the background, serving as in a volunteer capacity. So we're very grateful for her as part of the organization. Now, the Community Foundation was founded over 50 years ago in 1967. As a way to pool community resources to really support charitable work that was happening in the community. The founders had this vision and really a sense of obligation that there needed to be this lasting resource that enabled people who enjoy the benefits of our community to really be able to support and give to neighbors who weren't enjoying those same benefits. In fact, the organization was founded on a real conviction that, whether we acknowledge it or not, our lives are deeply intertwined. And we are all interconnected because we live in a community together. And it's really this sense of duty, in fact, to ensure that our neighbors are not alone enduring some of the challenges that our community has. So over 50 years later, we're honored to carry forward this vision. There's my clicker. There we are. So the Community Foundation is a public nonprofit foundation, and we really are a place-based funder. We serve a specific region, the Charlottesville area. You see the 7 surrounding counties there that we serve as well. And we were established and dedicated to that region. We have been around, as I mentioned, for over 50 years, and our mission is to improve quality of life and facilitate philanthropy in that service area. And we do that as a grant maker, a convener, and a fund manager. Oh, sorry. There we go. I'm going to talk us through this graphic. This is also, if you grab the annual report, this is in there as well. I know it's a little hard to read some of the words here. But I want to talk us through this because this really shows how the foundation is organized, the different parts of the house, and how it works. Every year, we receive contributions. This is 2017 information. But we had over 56,000 different contributions that came to the foundation in 2017. And all of those are contributed by various donors, many who are local and some who are not local. And they make financial contributions to the foundation. Those then assets are all pooled and organized in different component funds. Now we have roughly 175 million in assets under management. And you can see here the yellow circles are mustard colored. And those are all funds that are donor directed. There's an individual or a family or a group of people who advise the foundation on where to distribute gifts out of those funds. You can see that the largest proportion of the assets are organized in those categories, in those vehicles. We have donor advised funds, as I mentioned, committee advised funds. Many of you are aware of Bama Works Fund of Dave Matthews Band. That is a committee advised fund. We also have scholarship funds that support the education of individuals throughout the region, and some designated funds where a specific nonprofit or nonprofits are named as the recipients of the gifts coming out of that fund. So those are all of the mustard-colored, yellow-colored circles there. Again, it's the largest, most of our assets are in those. And you can see there that in 2017, about 15 million of the gifts that were coming from the foundation were coming from those types of funds. The red circles that you see are funds that are foundation directed. So our governing board makes decisions about where to distribute gifts coming out of those funds. Those are endowed funds, meaning they are set up to exist in perpetuity and to always be there to support the nonprofits and the community work. And you can see there that about 1.3 million is coming out of those funds, a smaller proportion to all of the resources coming out of the foundation. We also have an administrative endowment, which is this circle down here at the bottom, which supports the operations of the foundation. And then finally, the blue circle that you see are our agency endowment funds. You're going to hear a little bit more about those as well. But these are funds that nonprofits have saved and established an endowment to support their operations and work going into the future. And they're able to pool them at the community foundation to take advantage of the investment opportunities. So all of these circles that you see, all of the assets represented there are invested with a long-term approach to be able to preserve those resources and grow them over time. The other thing I want to mention is the grants that are coming in distributions, that 1.3 million that's coming out of those red circles, are all dedicated 100% to this region. The donor funds, roughly 15 million, about 65%, so a good majority of those are also going directly to this region. We do have the capability of working with donors to be able to support their giving and facilitate that nationally and in some cases internationally, but most of our funds and most of our donors are giving locally. And all of those grants and distributions then are going out into the region. And you can see here that these grants are covering the array of quality of life areas, from workforce to education to health to arts and culture to seniors and aging, so different populations throughout our region, all of those funds are dedicated to. So whether the foundation, the discretionary dollars, or a single fund has focused on one area or another, collectively, all of these resources are supporting the broad array of quality of life areas, and we're very committed to continuing that over time. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm now going to transition to introducing our team. And I tell you what, I have just the absolute pleasure of working with an amazing group of people who are just deeply, deeply committed to this region. They deeply respect the work that you all do, and they are committed to a thriving region that really does work for everyone who lives here. Our foundation team is organized into 3 different teams: the finance and administration team, the advancement team, and our programs team. So we're going to start by bringing out our finance and administration team. Here they come. Yep, that's the cue. All right. And we're going to spend a little time getting to know the individuals on each of the teams, answering some questions, and learning about the work that they do. First, this group of 5 individuals is essential to all of the operations that happen at the Community Foundation. LATIBE has, you can wave, LATIBE. LATIBE is our newest member of the Community Foundation. She has not yet even been here 2 weeks yet in our organization, and we are so thrilled to have her. She's our executive assistant. She supports me in a huge way, but also oversees our event planning and special projects at the foundation. She has a long career in executive and senior administrative roles, and if you come to our office, you will most likely be greeted by her warm personality and smile. So we're very excited to have LATIBE on our team.
Thank you.
ANDI SENATRO is next. She is our accounting and administrative assistant. She has the award for the longest title at the Community Foundation. And she provides very critical support to both the administrative and finance functions at the foundation. Those nearly 6,000 contributions that come to our office, ANDI processes all of those and has a huge role to play in ensuring that that work happens. ERIK Henderson, sitting next to her, is our accounting manager. And he's been with the foundation for going on 3 years. And the other side of that graphic, all of the transactions going out the door, ERIK has a huge role to play in that. And between ERIK and ANDI, if you've ever gotten a check in the mail from the Community Foundation, they have touched it and had a role to play in that. So thanks for the work that you guys do. NAREEN Scott is our administration manager. She handles all things office. She ensures that we have the equipment and just all of the materials and things that we need. She also handles our human resources function. And Jan Dorman is our director of finance. She really leads the finance and administration team, also leads on our investment, our audit, and our finance functions at the foundation, and is exploring some new tools and vehicles and ways for the foundation to expand its approach to investments in the community. So for this next portion of the program, I need a volunteer from the audience. And I know y'all are really excited to be that volunteer. I promise you we won't ask you to do anything crazy, but I am looking for one volunteer. Yes, thank you, to come on up to the stage. I had a very, I had a way to find volunteers, so I'm glad someone volunteered. Thank you. Tell us your name and what organization you're with.
Adam Nemeth, and I'm with Mima Music.
Great. Thanks so much for being here. Do you want
Is that all I have to do?
No, that's not all you have to do. Do you want to describe what Mima Music does?
Sure. Mima does collaborative songwriting programs for mostly kids in underserved areas. We also train teachers like Saman Dashti and probably a few others in the audience. We have a songwriting methodology. We train teachers, deploy them out to schools and host institutions, and help kids create their own music, their own rhythms, their own stories, and then produce music videos or live performances based on what they create.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Well, so the task that we have for you is you get to interview our programs and administration team.
Okay.
We do have questions for you.
Great.
Yeah, so if you'd like to have a seat.
So I didn't prepare.
And I'm going to give you this microphone. Oh, well, I'll give this to the team. Either way, here are your questions. And if you could just go through them, ask the team, they are more than happy to answer them.
Cute. I love this.
Take it away.
Thank you all for being here today. First question. How can my organization receive a grant from the Community Foundation?
I'll go ahead and answer that one.
Thank you.
So basically, the foundation awards grants to incorporated 501c3 organizations. Other qualified organizations we also see as private foundations, certain governmental entities, and educational organizations as well. The other part of it is there's two ways that grants go out from the foundation. Those two ways are through programs and through donor advised funds. The programs I think everyone here is familiar with, and those programs we receive applications for, and those applications are reviewed by our programs team and our grants portfolio committee as well. The donor advised funds, those grants are processed throughout the year at the discretion of the fund holders themselves. Then the next part of that is if you are not a 501c3 organization, that doesn't mean you're ruled out of receiving grants. So if that is the situation, please contact us and we can work through those situations. A lot of the times we can help put you in a situation in which you get a fiscal sponsor. And a fiscal sponsor is another 501c3 organization that partners with the organization to receive funds on behalf of that organization, and then they pass the funds along. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Follow-up question. Knowing the Community Foundation issues grants to area nonprofits, what other services does the foundation offer?
Well, that's a great question.
Thank you.
So I'm very excited to let you know that other services that we offer are the other nonprofits are able to utilize our meeting space. Our conference room is a meeting space. Throughout the year, from time to time, we also have equipment, supplies, and even furniture available to donate. So you could get anything from paper and binders to a laptop to a desk. So, and as a matter of fact, we do have a few items that are up for grabs now, so please contact me afterwards or contact the office and I will let you take a look at what we have available. Another service that the Community Foundation offers is helping nonprofits to establish endowments with us.
I've been wondering, since you mentioned endowments, what is an agency endowment fund?
That's another great question.
Thanks a lot.
Jan answered that for you.
Thanks, NAREEN. So agency endowment funds, as Brennan mentioned earlier, is an opportunity for nonprofits to establish a fund with a foundation. Generally, folks are looking for longer-term sustainability of an organization, and we encourage you and support you in doing that by creating an agency endowment fund. In our community, we have about 50 nonprofits who currently have an endowment fund with the Community Foundation. And I think Brennan had mentioned that we have about $170 million that we manage, and about 10%, about $16 million of that is held by area nonprofits in endowment funds. Besides the grant making that we do, we also manage those funds. So we are an investment manager, we coordinate that. We have an investment committee of area investment professionals who advise us and work with us to select investment managers and investment strategists. So we talked about investment management. Agency endowments are to support our area nonprofits in an effort to be more sustainable. So to the extent you have funds that you can put into either short-term savings or even long-term savings, then we'll work with you to manage those funds to be able to have a steady, either a cash flow over time to support your operation, or folks also do that for long-term savings, saving up for the purchase of a building or the replacement of a roof. So if you're interested in learning more about an agency endowment fund, you're welcome to come talk to me. And then another piece of the agency endowment fund, and actually for all nonprofits, is that we help with the acceptance of unusual gifts. So I think it's very common that you receive checks from your donors, or sometimes cash. But we also have instances where folks want to donate stock, and we do that fairly often, and we'll be happy to help you in terms of liquidating that stock. So with an endowment fund, folks can donate stock. Also donations of property, whether it's real estate or art collections. We have experience and have resources to help liquidate those assets for the local nonprofits.
Can I go off book, Brennan?
Sure, can.
Are there any criteria for the agency endowment fund, like in terms of what a nonprofit needs to do or have, or how long they've existed, how much money, something like that?
That's a great question. So the organization does need to be a 501c3 organization to have the fund with us. And we have, so we work with nonprofits to ensure that you get to a minimum balance of $25,000 to open an endowment fund. I would say that if you aren't ready to hit that $25,000, we will actually open an endowment fund for a smaller amount and work with you, support you while you grow that. So we want to be talking about, what is your plan to grow that endowment? And then we would wait until you reach that minimum threshold of $25,000 before we would look at making annual distributions out of that.
Cool, thanks. Why would a nonprofit choose to put their funds in an endowment at the foundation versus managing it themselves?
So I'll keep going there. So given that we do manage the funds as investors, so for an organization that may be just starting out and whatever the dollar value of the funds that you might want to either have in a long-term savings account at a bank, if you create an endowment fund with a community foundation, you have a bit of an economies of scale there where you have access to investment opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise access because of your size. So again, if you're $150 million in investments, you have access to funds that you can invest in that require often multi-million-dollar investments. So the advantage is that you have access to greater diversification and therefore potential for greater return.
Cool. I have a question. My organization received a check from a fund at the foundation. Can you tell me who to send the thank you note to?
I can indeed.
Great.
So the proper way to recognize that gift would be the name of the fund at the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation. Occasionally we do have donors who say recognize us by name, and they'll list their names. We also want to always respect their confidentiality with that. Sometimes we have donors who will also utilize a pass-through fund to gift to local organizations. In that case, they don't actually have a fund with us, so they wouldn't receive mail at the foundation. But otherwise, you all can feel free to send your thank you notes to the fund name at CACF, and we'll forward the mail according to the donor's wishes.
Great. I'm expecting a check from the foundation. What do I do if I haven't received it and it's been a couple weeks?
If you haven't received a check you're expecting, please reach out to me. I'm Andy, and we've got cards out there. You can grab mine. We've also begun exploring alternatives to mailing checks, including wire transfers, if that's something you all would need. And for gifts that have been requested from one of our donor-advised funds, those transactions are processed once we receive the request. Sometimes our donors meet with you and they mention an intention to send a gift before that has reached us. So in that case, you might be waiting on something that we haven't, been made aware of yet. We are committed to a 5 business day turnaround on those, so like a calendar week. And if you haven't received something and you're concerned, please reach out to us.
I would like to schedule a conversation with Brennan. Should I contact her directly or show up unannounced? Or should I reach out to the team?
She likes to hear from the community, so you can reach out to her directly or you can contact me. I will always arrange a meeting if you need so. But if you have any question regarding programs, we do have like a program team that you can contact. They will be better suited to help you with those questions. And if you have any other questions, you can just call our general number, and or if you don't know who to contact, but you have a question, just call me, and I will make sure I send you to the right person to talk to.
I think you've answered all my questions.
Thank you so much. We probably have time now for maybe one or two questions from the audience for our programs team. If any of those, not programs, finance and administration team, if those questions did not answer your question. So we can pass the mic around if there's anyone with a burning question right now that you would like to ask these 5 individuals. Oh, there's one. And the question was if we can distinguish between agency fund and vision fund. What's the difference?
So the agency fund is a fund with the community foundation. So take the name of the nonprofit, and generally it's that fund. The vision fund is the community foundation's administrative endowment. So we've had donors who are interested in supporting the longevity of all the folks that you're going to be seeing today and running the office to be able to do the work that we do. So the vision fund is our internal administrative endowment.
Another question here in front.
Hi, Vivian. I was wondering, for endowment funds, does the endowment have to be used for a specific interest of the donor? You know, like it can't just, is it something that can be used for anything, or does that nonprofit or individual have to use it for something the donor hasn't specified?
So the question is, when someone creates, I assume an agency endowment is what you're asking about, or any endowment fund with a foundation, is it up to the nonprofit to determine how it's to be used, or does the donor have to specify how it's used? So if a donor makes a contribution and they have specified a purpose, then we honor that purpose, and it's our obligation to honor donor intent. If it's the nonprofit that is identifying funds that they want to establish an endowment with, the nonprofit can specify how they want those funds to be used. So we have some nonprofits that will say this is an endowment to support general operations of the organization, and we define that. They sometimes have multiple endowments, so we kind of treat it like a family of funds. So they may earmark another group of funds that is towards to support the maintenance of a facility or property. Or they might have an endowment that supports professional development for their staff, or scholarships for the students in their program. So those are examples.
We have time for one more, all the way in the back.
Can you speak to the average rate of return on the investments that the foundation makes?
Sure. This is also reported in our annual report, and we do take the long view, so knowing that endowments or investments in general at the foundation, we are looking for at the 3 to 5 to 7 year return on those funds, and I believe that our that approximate rate of return has been around 6 to 7%.
All right, we are going to end there. There will be time later for more questions. Thank you, Finance and Administration team. Now our advancement team is going to come on out.
All of us?
Yes, all of them. So you notice that this is our advancement team right now. You do notice there are a couple of empty chairs, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. But first, I'm going to introduce Katie KLING, who is our donor engagement manager. She's been with the foundation since last summer, and Katie manages all of the relationships with our fund holders. So you saw that those mustard-colored circles on that graphic. Katie is working with all of the individuals behind those most of those individuals. Katie is a pro at relationship building, listening, and really helping donors connect with their philanthropic goals and intent. So we're really fortunate to have her on our team. She's going to have some colleagues soon. One of those empty chairs is for our Director of Advancement. We'll be recruiting a Director of Advancement this spring, and in fact, the job description and posting will be up this week on our website, so please do visit that. And the Director of Advancement will be leading our advancement team, really focus on increasing the resources available for grant making, supporting donors, donor stewardship and cultivation, as well as overseeing our communications function for the foundation. The other chair is for our communications manager, who we will also be recruiting this spring. And that role will provide strategic communications for the whole foundation and really ensure that we're advancing our mission and message in the region. So now I need another volunteer from the audience. You know what the task is. We'd love to have you come up and interview Katie. We'll have a volunteer. Yes, please come on down. Great, thank you for volunteering. There's some steps around the way if you would prefer to get up that way. All right. All right, can you please tell us your name, your organization, a little bit about what you do?
Sure. My name is Deborah Ehrenstein. I am the governance chair of the board at Live Arts, and I'm also a consultant with the Board Whisperers. So we work with nonprofits and their boards to make them stronger and get their jobs done.
Great. Thank you, and thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, thank you for volunteering.
I have a few questions for you to ask.
How are you? Thanks for joining me. Nice to meet you too.
Thanks for being on my show.
I know. I'm having an Emperor moment. I can't lie.
Here's Katie! So, Katie, how can my organization connect with your donors?
Great question. So as Brendan mentioned, my role is really based in and focused on supporting all of our fund holders in meeting their charitable goals. That is sort of happening at the same time that I'm keeping in mind our broader foundation goal of making sure that we are flowing as much money as possible out into our community. And so I really look at sort of where my job is really to sort of create those opportunities for connections with our donors and you all and all the amazing work that you're doing. So there are really sort of four broad ways that we do that. The first one is through our Giving Opportunities, which is a quarterly newsletter that goes out to all of our donors and fund holders. That is basically your funding requests, excuse me. The second way we do that is we're in the process of ramping up our formal communications with our donors, so we're going to start sending out monthly newsletters. And in that monthly newsletters, one of the goals of increasing our communications is so that our donors get to hear about the great work that our programs team is doing and the work that you all are doing in our community. The third way we do that is through our donor education series. And so we have several meetings that happen through the years with our donors. And those are opportunities not only for donors to connect with each other, but also for our donors to connect with the community at large and learn about the important work that's happening in our community. And then I would say the last way is through our, this year for the very first time, we opened up our Enriching Communities grant applications to our donors, which was a really exciting opportunity for our donors to understand more about the work that you all are doing. And so we look forward to continuing that in the future. We had a really successful first go, and we're excited to keep doing that in the future.
That's a lot of work for one person.
That's why I'm going to have some friends.
So Katie, how do you work personally with donors, and do you tell them who or what to fund?
So the quick answer to the last part of that question is no, I don't. My work with donors, as Brendan said, is really about building relationships and getting to know what each of our donors' goals are and what they are interested in giving in, what their patterns of giving are, and how do I help facilitate their philanthropy. And I wanted to give you a couple of examples of how I've done that this year, just to give you a better sense of what my work looks like. So last year a community member reached out and said, I saw the list of recipients of your Heal Charlottesville grant round, and I'm interested in learning more about these particular organizations. So I said, great, let me see what I can find out. And I walked down to our programs team and I learned a lot from them, and then I did some research on my own and basically collated information and sent it back to him. And from that list, he selected an organization and did his own sort of reference checking and said, great, this is who I'd love to give a pretty substantial gift at the end of last year. So it was really, so that was one opportunity. The second one was when we had our Enriching Community Grant applications open, I had a donor reach out and say, this is fantastic, and I'm incredibly busy and I don't have time to read over 100 applications, which is kind of understandable. And so she said, hey, can you pull together all the applications that you have that sort of fall under these 5 impact areas? Great. So I pulled that list together for her, provided her summary information, and it was really interesting because it was a range of organizations from existing organizations that she knew, as well as some emerging organizations that were new to her. And from that, she ended up co-funding, I believe, 5 different Enriching Communities grant applications. So it was a really beautiful way, I think, for her to learn more about what's happening in the community and for us to help facilitate that connection between her and a new organization. But really in all of this, it's about my role and my responsibility is around being an information gatherer and a facilitator so that our donors can really make informed decisions about what is aligned with their giving goals, I guess I would say.
Sort of like a matchmaker.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's actually very similar to how I think about my job, yeah.
Can you tell us more about the kinds of donors who work with you and about their giving approaches?
Yeah, it's incredibly varied. As Brennan said, I think we have over 150 donor advised funds, and then you throw in our committee advised fund and our scholarship funds, and understandably, as you all know, as you all are all very unique, our donors are all very unique. And so I would say there's sort of some buckets that people fall into, or categories. I would say there's sort of a group of folks that have relatively small funds now, and their intent is that those funds remain relatively inactive until after their death, in which case, or after which time their fund will become fully funded based on direction from their will, and then giving will sort of ensue after that. We have a group of donors who are pretty predictable and regular in their giving, and I know a lot of you receive gifts from those folks annually, which is a really, I know not only generous, but I think probably a reliable source for hopefully for you all in some of your funding. And then I think, and then we have a group of grant makers, so folks that our programs team will talk a little bit about our discretionary grant making. We also have some fund holders that do manage their own grant process. And then I would say sort of the last group of people is more similar to the examples I gave in the last question around folks that are really interested in understanding more about what's happening in our community, becoming really engaged in the important work that you all are doing. And so there's a big variety, and my role is really to, like I said before, really listen and understand which of our donor needs and meet them where they are and help them ensure that they meet their goals.
Well, speaking personally as a fundraiser and a board member, it must be so great to work with donors who are calling you and saying, I want to give.
Oh, it's
help me to do that.
Seriously, it is a dream. It is, yeah, it is. It's fantastic.
That's a good day at the office, right?
It is.
And my final question before our big giveaway is cards for everybody. So, how do you stay in touch with what's happening in our community and what all these different nonprofits are doing?
Yeah. So you will meet our programs team next, and many of you know the folks on our programs team, and they are far and away my greatest resource and my greatest connection to all of your important work. So I always start with them. And I would say kind of the other big way is through events like this. And I had an opportunity to see many of you at our open house a couple of weeks ago, which was wonderful. I hope I have a chance to talk to more of you today. And it's just continuing to become, for me, just to become better acquainted with you and all of your work. And I'm excited to do that so that I can help continuing to facilitate those connections.
Thank you for being here today, Katie. I really appreciate it. We have time for your audience questions.
We do have time for audience questions. So if you have any questions, burning right now for Katie and our advancement team,
I'll just pass that down
let us know.
here.
Any questions? On stage?
Oh, good.
I must have done a really good job.
All right, you've let her off the hook. Okay, thank you. All right, and now we're going to welcome to the stage our programs team. Many of you have interacted with our programs team at the foundation. These three women do a lot of work and also have an incredible amount of expertise when it comes to grant making and community work. Sarah Sweeney, most of you know either you have emailed with her, you've talked to her on the phone, she's come to visit you last summer when she did her whirlwind tour of the region and site visits. But Sarah is our program manager and has been with the foundation for 3 years now and oversees all of our small grant programs, Enriching Communities, Bama Works Fund, Louisiana County Community Fund, and provides a lot of support and technical assistance to our grant partners. AIYANA Marcus is our newest programs team member. She also just joined the foundation about 3 weeks ago. And she joins us from Dayton, Ohio, from the Dayton Community Foundation. We're just thrilled to have her. She did a lot of work, a lot of kind of community initiative work. She worked with donors who had their own application processes and just has a wealth of experience in community foundations and in grant making. She oversees our large grant programs, strengthening systems and shaping futures. And we have Ebony Bugg, who many of you all know. She has been in the community quite a while and also has worked on different initiatives, served in many different roles, but is at the foundation as director of programs. She joined the team last fall. We are so fortunate to have her. In her role, she oversees all of the grant making for the foundation and really provides the strategic oversight and vision for our program's work. So welcome to that team. I now need, I now need one more volunteer. I know there's someone who really wants to get up here. Yes, come on down. I'm so glad we have willing volunteers because I had other ideas of getting people up here and I don't think you really wanted that. So thank you for coming. Can you share a little bit about your name, your organization, and what you do?
Okay. I'm Jennifer Jones with Montanova Stables Foundation, and we offer a horseback riding and horsemanship program through summer camps and after-school programs for underserved kids in Albemarle County.
Great, thank you so much. And oh, the mic wasn't on. Okay, here we go. Can you hear me? Oh, great. Okay. Here's questions to ask the programs team.
Good morning. Okay, I hear you talk about discretionary grant making. What exactly does that mean?
Good morning, everyone. So earlier you've heard from Brennan and also our administration and finance team and donor team about our donor advised funds and agency endowments. Well, the foundation also has an endowment, and 100% of the proceeds from those investments flow out annually into the community in the forms of our Enriching Communities, Strengthening Systems, and Shaping Future grants. And they're called discretionary because they're not advised by a donor or particular fund holder, but are managed instead by the foundation staff and our grants portfolio committee.
Could everybody hear that? Yeah? Okay, great. We won't repeat.
Thank you very much. You may have touched on this. The next question is, what is the difference between the discretionary grant programs?
Absolutely. And I'm going to go ahead and use a visual aid to help explain the difference between the three. Absolutely. So at the foundation, we have the three discretionary grant tracks, and each, as you can see, are distinct with specific goals. So we have our Enriching Communities track, which is typically, one organization would apply. In it, the purpose is to support a wide range of activities that keep our community vibrant and strong. Strengthening systems is more system focused on the actual ecosystem itself. So through which, is looking at how organizations operate and individuals navigate through that system. And the purpose is to work with partners to strengthen how services and activities are delivered and accessed in our community. And so for Shaping Futures, it's a longer-term grant, and that focus is on shifting the needle for an entire demographic population. And for Enriching Communities, the award amount is up to $15,000 over the course of a year. And you can apply through our online grants portal, and the contact for that grant is Sarah Sweeney. For Strengthening Systems, the award amount is anywhere between $75,000 to $100,000 awarded over 3 years. So a total of $300,000, and I'm the contact, and that's submitted through email. And for Shaping Futures, it's $100,000 over 5 years, so you get up to $500,000 total. And again, same contact myself through email. So hopefully through this visual, it's clear the different purposes of each of our discretionary grant tracks.
We'll keep this up there for the next question. Can you please explain more about the differences between a system, an activity, an individual organization, and work that addresses a whole population?
Absolutely. Glad you asked. So, have another visual for that as well. So for the Enriching Communities grant, of course we know that all organizations exist within an ecosystem with other organizations. And so within this system, they have relationships with one another, different people that are involved, activities, services, and events, and it may or may not be related to its work. So the focus of an Enriching Communities grant, again, more activities focus, examines one organization's internal operations or their internal ecosystem and its specific capacity to address an issue affecting our community. So for example, if we have a local food bank that wants to provide more fresh food options for the residents in need, they might, apply for Enriching Communities grant to help build their capacity. So capacity strengthening there. For a Strengthening Systems grant, it's a little bit more externally focused. It looks outside of the individual organization and examines the entire ecosystem. So of the organizations, people, events, activities that it comes into contact with. So the types of questions you want to ask yourself if you're looking to apply for a Strengthening Systems grant are, what are the barriers to people even accessing and navigating the system to begin with? Are there any inefficiencies or changes in the way that people move through the system? Are there gaps in services? So in that continuum of care, is there a drop-off? What are people left with? Do they get what they need to either exit the system or continue to navigate it successfully? And along the way, of course, what capacity building needs are there for certain organizations along the way? So in all of this, it's definitely important that all the organizations who are within that system, are working together to address these different issues in order to apply the appropriate intervention. In addition to engaging the actual people who they're serving within that system. So for example, Louisa County Resource Council received a Strengthening Systems grant because they wanted to examine the ecosystem of food distribution to estimate the prevalence of food insecurity in the county, learn more about how clients use food assistance received from the council, and to learn why some people who need food assistance are using their services, and just the other needs of low-income people in their community. So that's the type of focus for a Strengthening Systems grant. For a Shaping Futures grant, it goes a little bit further. So of course you're going to address, the environment in which the activities take place, the barriers, inefficiencies, gaps, capacity building, but it's more outcomes driven. So once those different issues are addressed, it goes even further to look at what types of historical trends have been in place that can contribute to negative outcomes for community. And looking at that at scale, so it's not just about, the system, but looking at, an entire population and how you can really move the needle to shift their future. So an example of a Shaping Futures proposal, we are currently funding the Sisters Keepers Collective, which is a community of women of color, birth sisters, who are looking at how to reduce the rate of infant mortality of African American babies in the city of Charlottesville. So, and they're also looking at the root issue of addressing structural and systemic racism along the way. And they have a goal to be able to serve 70% of the African American population delivering babies over the next 5 years. So in essence, that program would shape the future for an entire demographic population. And there are definitely more examples of all of our grant tracks, Shaping Futures, Enriching Communities, and Strengthening Systems that are available on our website should you want to do some more research.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That was a lot of information.
Was a lot.
The graphics, yes, these graphics were very helpful.
I
We have one more.
Yeah, no, it just clicked.
Stay right here for a sec, just in case. Okay, yeah.
These are all.
When do you evaluate your overall discretionary grant program offerings, and do you anticipate changing them?
Currently, the foundation is really committed to our 3 discretionary grants programs and plan to continue to do so. And we are also really interested in hearing feedback from our nonprofit partners. In 2017, we conducted a Center for Effective Philanthropy survey that many of you may have participated in, and your feedback has already been incorporated in the infrastructure of our programs team, as well as some of the new initiatives that we're embarking on. But always we are looking at ways to improve and enhance our work, and so we will continue with the generous support of Dorothy Batten and do this survey again, incorporating your feedback, and also addressing any gaps that may exist in our system. And so we're constantly evaluating our programs for the opportunities to create new grant tracks, and depending on available resources, be responsive to the needs of the community. And we're also really engaged in ongoing strategic work. And so we are constantly looking at our guidelines, looking at our applications, fine-tuning our rubrics so that our internal processes and your experience with our programs team runs really smoothly.
Thank you. Along that same line, who makes the decisions about your discretionary grants?
This is my favorite question. So the programs team does not make the final decision about our discretionary grants. We have what's called a grants portfolio committee, and that committee is comprised of board members as well as community members who have significant expertise in our nonprofit community, utilize the services in our community, and represents our entire region. And these people are so committed to the values of the foundation, but also to creating a really vibrant and thriving region. And it's a significant commitment of service in order to evaluate all of our grants. And so we as a staff, our responsibility is to conduct due diligence and provide support to you all before, during, and after our grant rounds, and then provide fact-based advisement to our grants portfolio committee to allow them and empower them to make good decisions about our grants.
Great, thank you. I know Sarah has actually helped me with technological problems on our end as well. So you guys are wonderful. Are there any community priorities that the foundation is looking to fund specifically through its discretionary grant tracks?
We really are interested in creating a vibrant and thriving region, and that really requires a variety of different activities from the arts sector to public health, education, etc. And so we really appreciate that our Enriching Communities grant tracks allows us to continue to do so. And we're also really interested in creative and innovative solutions that move the needle on problems that have persisted in our community over time. Another point that we're really focused on is increasing our capacity to serve our rural communities, and are really interested in working with organizations in our outlying counties in order to get more resources out there and build connections.
You must have known the next question. How do you support small and/or rural organizations?
Yes, thank you. We are always trying to learn more about what our smaller organizations and rural organizations are doing and the challenges that they're facing. Obviously, they have unique challenges than some of the organizations based in the city of Charlottesville or in more urban areas. So we are committed to doing a number of things. One, we always support general operations for all of our organizations, but in particular smaller and rural organizations. We also updated our consecutive year funding policy for enriching communities that now allows organizations who operate at or below $250,000 to apply for up to 3 years of consecutive funding to accommodate those smaller organizations that do not have as many funding sources as larger organizations.
Thank you. You all did a number of site visits over the summer last year. Are you going to do that again?
Yes. We are, and when I say we, mainly myself. I met with many of you last summer and really learned a lot and loved coming out to each of your spaces and getting to see the work you guys do, and we remain committed to doing that, and we think it's a very important touch point for both ourselves and for you guys to continue to learn from each other. Yeah.
Sounds like fun. Maybe.
Yes.
So last question, are there any other grant programs beyond the discretionary grant tracks that are available to us?
Yeah, so many of you are familiar with the Bama Works Fund, and they are one of the funds that we provide administrative support for, but they have their separate committees and they make their own decisions. So we have a number of other funds that operate that way, and we do provide support for other donors as well that have their own goals and application processes. And if you would like to learn more, please visit our website or contact one of us.
Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Yes, we have time to take a couple of questions from the audience for our programs team. Any questions?
No question.
Oh, we have it over there.
I don't want you guys to feel like nobody's paying attention. I was intrigued by what you, Sarah, talked about the ability to apply for multiple years for smaller organizations. And I must have missed the detail on exactly how we make people aware of that in the application process, and which different portals go down that road.
Yeah, so the question was multi-year funding. And so what we mean by consecutive year funding is not that Enriching Communities provides multi-year funding, it's that you can apply each year for up to 3 years if you're at that threshold of $250,000 operating budget. If you're above that, you have 2 years of consecutive funding. So at this time, we do not provide
multi-year funding through Enriching Communities. We do provide it through our large grant programs.
Thanks for that question. Any other questions for programs team? No? All right, well, thank you so much, programs team, for volunteering. I want to transition now. This way. Can you all hear me? Yeah. I want to transition now to share a little bit about what is ahead for the foundation. You've got to receive an overall general information about how the foundation is organized. You have to meet our team and learn about the work that they do. And I want to share about our priorities going forward. Now, we feel incredibly fortunate to be able to build on all of the work of those who've come before us, who really built a strong organization. And it's really an honor to be able to carry forward their vision, the vision of the founders, and all of those who've been involved in the organization over those 50 years. And I really do believe that the three priorities I'm going to share with you are really in keeping with ensuring that we're creating a lasting, helpful resource that really is dedicated to this region and supporting the work here. The first priority, we're on a journey. The first priority really is focused on our role as a grant maker, and one that we recognize that we're one of the few institutional funders dedicated to the Charlottesville region. And every grant round, we are acutely aware of the need to increase the amount of funds available to support our grant making. There's always a high demand on the funds available. Some of the grant rounds are increasingly getting more competitive. And we also acknowledge that there are shifts in the funding landscape happening locally, and different donors or funders are changing their priorities, which can make it difficult for certain organizations. We are deeply committed to being that resource that is here for you and that you're able to access funding for your important work at the foundation. We want to be there for you for the durations that you need and providing support that's helpful for you to be successful. We recognize that some of you need support for general operations. You may need help to scale programs. You need the space to be innovative and to experiment, or you need to weather some storms. And we want your community foundation to be able to be there for you. Our second priority is really rooted in our enthusiasm and commitment throughout our whole organization, from our board members to our committee members to our whole team, to really do some deep internal work to understand the causes and systems that perpetuate inequities experienced by people across our region. We know through our grant making over the many years, we also know through a lot of the work that you all are doing and the way that you're targeting your work in specific areas, that our region, our community does not work the same for everyone, and not everyone is able to benefit from the wonderful place that we call home. And we want to ensure that our organization and the people involved understand those systems of inequity, the causes, why some people are able to really experience the benefits and others have to carry the burdens of living in our community. And we want to be able to develop strategies and support partners to address those systems of inequity. So we are on a learning journey. We are very fired up about that, and we look forward to sharing our experiences and learnings as we go on that journey. And then finally, another priority for us is that as your community foundation, we want to be sure that we have tools available to support community work. And we want an array of tools. Grant making has primarily been and will continue to be a primary tool for us. But we also know, and in partnership in recent months with donors, that there are other tools out there. There are other ways that we can deploy assets through impact investing and other financial vehicles to support community work. And we want to make sure that your community foundation is equipped to do those as well. So we're exploring some relevant opportunities for that work in the future. Now, all of these priorities, I believe, really will allow us to be that community foundation that serves you well, that's lasting and helpful. And we also know that we cannot realize the thriving region that we desire to see without your dedicated partnership. So it's very important to us that we're growing our organization in ways that really do fuel your important work. Now, I want to close by saying that we are here for you. We really are. It's been a joy being able to introduce ourselves to you, to connect with you this morning. We're so grateful that we're here, and we hope that you will stay connected with us. We're eager for that. For those of you who did not get your questions answered through the formal program, when out in the hallway when you came in, we've got a box and some cards for burning questions. And if you've jotted anything down or something wasn't answered, please write it down on those cards, staple your business card or leave your contact information because we're committed to responding to your questions in the weeks ahead. So please don't hesitate to do that. I also want to say that we really do welcome your feedback. It's hugely important to us to be the foundation that we want to be. So we hope that you will tell us what we could do differently, what we could do better, and what we can do more of. So please do be in touch with your feedback. So that really concludes the formal portion of our time together this morning. Please do stay. We have a little while longer here. Please enjoy the refreshments. Please connect with us, our team members and our board members and committee members who are here are so eager to connect with you. Thank you so much.